Hi, today I want to talk a little bit about the furlough payments scheme, the job retention scheme that has been helping many companies and many employees survive through this coronavirus crisis. Now, we know that it's coming to an end and it's going to be a phased ending, and the end of the coronavirus furlough payment scheme is scheduled for October, end of October. And there are going to be some changes made between now and then. And the first major change comes this coming month, July, begins this week. And that change is about workers being able to be employed for less than full time and furlough payments being made for the time that they remain unemployed. So if someone works a 5-day week as a norm and you can provide work for 3 days, then the government will top up by paying 80% of the remaining 2 days. So nice and simple. I think it's a scheme that's worth taking advantage of. It's worth taking advantage of in the way that we look at working in the future, because we know that we're going to exit the coronavirus crisis and go straight into a deep recession crisis. We know that that is going to be the case. We know that things are going to be difficult in the economy, in the global economy, and in the UK economy. We know that we're not going to have an easy time in the coming few months. As we've already discussed, at the end of the first 6 months of this, at the end of this year, we are looking at leaving the EU completely. A whole new economic ballgame is facing us in the new year of 2021. And so we have to be prepared for these kinds of things, and we have to be ready to start talking between the employer and the employees on how we are going to work together on this. When we're looking at this particular next period of the furlough payments, and we look at the freeing up, if you like, of people to be employed for less than 5 days in a week, then we're easing people back into the workplace. There's a psychological issue here as well as an economic issue, in that when people have been away from work for so long, it's important that they are able to get back on their feet psychologically as well as economically and physically by turning up for work. And that to come back into the workplace after 4 months absence from work can be quite a difficult thing to do. And to get people into that state, it's worth thinking about that psychological impact, and especially if people are coming back into a period of economic fear. Because as we've seen quite recently, large-scale redundancies being announced as being in the pipeline by major employers in the UK, the British Airways, the Swiss ports. All sorts of people have announced that there are going to be jobs at risk, and they're going to be at risk in the thousands within those companies. Now, these videos and my book, Human Resource Management Made Easy, are directed at the smaller employer, the smaller organisation, the smaller business, people that are not employing that many people and don't have a HR professional to help them through these particular human resource problems. But the laws still apply to you. So when we're looking at coming out of this crisis and into the forthcoming crisis, the financial crisis, the economic crisis that we are about to go into from the coronavirus pan and into the recession fire, we're going to have to be thinking very much about how we stay alive as businesses. And sometimes that will mean cutting back. And when we look at cutting back, all too often we're talking about redundancies. And redundancy legislation applies to us all. Now, I've spoken before about the numbers of people that are required in terms of prospective redundancies before compulsory collective consultation takes place. But as you know, I strongly recommend that consultation and employee engagement begins at the earliest opportunity, whether you're talking one person being made redundant or 101 people being made redundant. The more we talk, the better the results in terms of our options, more ideas that can come into play. So now as we're looking at people coming back part-time into the workplace but still being subsidised by 80% for the remaining time that they're not working, then we can start using this time to develop our future working relationships and our working practices, how we work together. Now, I'm a great fan of an American management guru named John Cotter, and he's a great change management expert, and he's worth having a look at should you get the opportunity, because his maxims on change management, which is what we're looking at, are really important. And he has an 8-point plan on how to make change management successful. And the first part of that plan is to create an imperative. Well, that imperative has already been created for us. That imperative is to stay alive, to stay functioning as businesses, to stay functioning within this economy, within the UK economy. So that's already there. The second step is to form a powerful alliance. Now that, for me, in the case of change management, is about forming the alliance between the key players, the key stakeholders in a business, employer and employee representatives, whether you deal with a trade union or whether you just deal directly with your employees, whether you have someone that can speak on behalf of those employees, whether they can nominate someone to do that. Then if you've done that, then you've got that engagement. You start off with having people involved and engaged in the future of your business and the futures within that business. And so for me, this is a really important step. I cannot emphasize enough how important it is to engage your workforce. Again, whether you're talking about a workforce of 1, a workforce of 101, the more engaged, the better the results are going to be in terms of the ideas that are going to come forward to keep your business alive and to keep their jobs in place. Now, it may well be that, that for the initial term, there are going to have to be some sorts of sacrifices. It might be that people will go on reduced weeks and go on reduced weeks for some while until businesses are brought back in line. It might well be that all sorts of changes need to be made to the way that people work that will ultimately be beneficial to everyone. It might be that we can start looking at creating a higher skilled, more motivated, more competent, more flexible workforce, and we can take some advantage of being able to employ people part-time for the next few months and still receive government subsidies for the time that people are unable to work. So I'd like to put to employers and employees now that we start talking about how we can work together to bring about those changes. As long as we work together, we have a better chance of coming out of this together. Now remember, we're going to need those conversations to keep going because we're going to be facing leaving the EU in 6 months. And when we leave the EU, it is going to be another major financial economic change for many of us. Some people, I'm sure, will thrive. Some people will have some problems and some people will have difficulties. As long as we employ people, we can have that conversation where everyone is on the same side to get us out of these very difficult situations. Okay, well, thank you for watching, and I'd like to, as always, ask that you subscribe to the YouTube channel. Just click on the button that says subscribe and you'll get these videos straight to your electronic devices. And I would like you to also like and share on Facebook should you get these videos via my Facebook page and advertisements. So let's look forward to the changes that we can make, together, and I will see you soon. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.